podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to Howie the Podcast. It's Gav and you join us for another episode of From the Vault, an interview which you haven't previously heard before on our feeds and one that we've pulled out from the ranks. And this one is a chat with former Sunderland midfielder Neil Wainwright, who signed for the club in 1998 from Wrexham, spent a few years under Peter Reid and has some really interesting stories about his time with the club. This one was actually recorded in 2022, just before we were due to play Mackem, but sadly never made the light of day. And because today's a quiet day, we thought we would drop this one on you. So this is a chat, like I said, with Neil Wainwright. Chris is with him. Hope you enjoy it.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn. We're very pleased to welcome not only the current head of academy coaching at Mackem FC, but someone who was also on the Sunderland's books as a player between 1998 and 2001, which is, of course, Neil Wainwright. Hello, Neil.
Morning, mate. You all right?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you keeping?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Not so bad. Looking forward to the end of the season. A little break would be nice.
Yeah. I was going to mention that actually, because I'm sure, coming to the business end of the season, there's a lot of people behind the scenes looking forward to a nice break in the summer. It's kind of relentless when the season's on, especially kind of Saturday, Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I'm working in the academy. I do Saturday, Sundays as well. So it's it's pretty, to be honest, yeah. But good.
Yeah, and just so, because obviously the listeners can't see anything of what I'm seeing, but I was admiring a picture on the wall behind you of yourself playing for Darlington, which I thought was a photograph, but is actually a painting from Geordie Craddock, and it's typical Geordie Craddock. It just looks like a photograph. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's top drawer. It's one of, I would imagine it's one of Jodie's earlier ones as well. It's from many, many years ago, probably about 15 years ago, to be honest. Maybe a little bit older. But yeah, it's pride of place in the dining room, that one. Jodie's excellent at what he does.
Yeah, talented fella. But as I said, you're now the academy head of coaching at Mackem. So how long have you been at the club, and what are your main duties in that role, kind of in an average day?
Yeah, I've been at the club around about 13 years now, I think. Just over 13 years, coming up 14, I think. So, yeah, when I was finished at Darlington, I was at Darlington for 7 years. I then came over to play for Mackem for the last 3 years of my career. After that, there was a little bit of dalliance in player manager at non-league level and stuff like that for about 6 months to 12 months. And then I came in to do a little bit of coaching within the development centre at the football club at the time, before the academy was in full swing. And then became 18s manager. I was 18s manager for about 7 years, and then last couple of years I've been head of coaching, which is a good role. It's a really good role. It's on the surface of it, it's coach development. So it's developing and progressing our coaches and make them better and get them more qualified and help progress our young footballers. But in reality, it's that plus loads more. So luckily for me, I get to work with all the players from under 8 all the way up to first team. So even last week I have the players who don't quite make the squad on a Saturday for the away game. So I take those boys for a session on Saturday mornings as well. So it's a wide range, and it's never dull. So I can definitely say that.
Yeah, you see the whole progression, the whole journey there from that viewpoint, don't you? But yeah, I mean, we'll circle back onto the subject of Mackem. I want to obviously hear more, but I can't let you go without quickly quizzing you on your playing days, if that's okay. Because fantastic career. All started at Wrexham in the mid-90s under Brian Flynn, who was there for quite a long time. I think he was over there for 10 years in charge at Wrexham. And I was reading kind of about your rise up the ranks, but it seems at Wrexham, from what I read, it seems to just been pretty rapid, where you just kind of suddenly just kind of burst through onto the scene. I mean, was that the case?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think it was the pre-season of that season. I made my debut in a game against Everton. So it was kind of, I guess, late-ish coming through, sort of 20, turning 21. Because a few, in those days, young wonder kids, so to speak, were coming through at the sort of 18, but mine was slightly later, probably due to physicality at the time. And then, it was a proper whirlwind. I made me first team debut, scored on my debut at Blackpool right on my Christmas, so 28th of December of that season. And then probably only played about 6 or 7 more games. Had my first ever proper injury, tore my hamstring, didn't play for the rest of the season. And then all of a sudden, Peter Reid comes in the summer. So it was definitely a whirlwind. I'd heard rumours that there was a few watching me and that Peter Reid had come to watch, but it was one of those when you're playing, you just don't expect it to be you that they're coming to watch, and you just think it's going to be someone else. So it's in fact, I think we played Bristol Rovers when Reedy came to watch, played at the racecourse, and all the talk was come to watch Neil Wainwright, but in my head he's coming to watch Jamie Curitan, who ended up playing till he was about 40, I think, but he was the one at the time for Bristol Rovers, scoring loads of goals. So in my head I was like, it's not me, but in the end, it was, and it was definitely a whirlwind. I think I played less than double figures games for Wrexham before I left. So
yeah, did you mention there you played against Everton in those early days? Because I'm pretty sure I read you grew up a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan. Yeah, played against Everton. It was a pre-season friendly. I think Andre Kanchelskis scored all 4 goals in the game. I think it was. I think we lost.
Rapid, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely rapid. I think he scored in the game from about 25 yards out, but it was a toe poke. It was ridiculous. He just ran onto it and levered it with the end of his toe. It was bizarre. But it was an interesting one for me, up against Andy Hinchcliffe, obviously a seasoned pro. And I did okay. I did all right. So it was good.
Yeah, and Andy Hinchcliffe, one who used to shoot from corners. I think he had a fantastic corner on him, didn't he? But like I said, I mean, like you've mentioned, incredible, because like I said, you kind of burst onto the scene, but then came through, and then suddenly only that handful of appearances, and it seems like everybody's trying to watch you. That the words got out that this kid's it burst through at Wrexham. People want to watch him. So like you said, you said you heard about Peter Reid watching you, but was Peter Reid on a row of 3 or 4 other scouts? Did you think, actually, there's a few watching us here?
I was told mainly of Sunderland's interest very early on, so that was sort of the early interest. And again, straight away, I'm looking at the football club and getting an idea of what the football club's like, and enormous in ahead of them going, like, unbelievable. But then there was others. There was Derby, there was Blackburn, and the most famous one was Newcastle. So. So Newcastle initially offered to take me on trial for a week. Kenny Dalglish was manager at the time. Again, obviously me being a Liverpool fan. I think John Barnes was in the squad at the time. He was my hero. So it was an interesting one. But I said no to the trial. I'm thinking if someone wants to come and get me, they'll come and get me. The worst thing for me as a young player, I think, would have been to go to Newcastle for a week for a trial and then for them to say no and then go back to a club. So it would have been difficult. But on my way up to sign for Sunderland, actually, I was on the way up in the car with my agent, who I literally only just met, the agent, to see Peter Reid. Kenny Dalglish rang in the car and said, forget the trial, we'll sign him. So I've had a quick conversation with my dad, and we were like, you know what, I think we've settled on Sunderland already. We've already made our mind up. So till the day I die, I can say I turned down Kenny Dalglish, and more importantly, turned down Newcastle. So, but at the time it was for us. It was the way Sunderland had been in terms of wanting to come after me. The way Peter Reid had been, the way Newcastle were at the time. I think they were Premier League and Sunderland were Championship, but they had something like 40 odd pros, just scrapped the reserve team. You're thinking, what are my opportunities going to be there? So there was a multitude of factors, but I did get a good feel about Sunderland from the start, really.
Yeah, but I mean, was that the sales pitch from Peter Reid? Was it that he was kind of bringing in some younger players, and you'd get that opportunity, and you felt like you'd get more of a chance at Sunderland than maybe taking a bigger step up to the Premier League? Yeah,
well, that was what I was hearing. I never actually met Peter up until that day. So before then, that was what I was hearing. So from the agent, he was sort of relaying that stuff to me. So it all sounded good. It's all sounded great. And then on our way up there, we were up to meet and discuss contracts and what have you. And so we don't know whether Peter will be here because he's he's basically getting back off holiday today. So I turned up at the stadium and go through the main doors. The lift on the right hand side opens. Peter Reid steps out in his flip flops and shorts. He comes straight from the airport. So again, straight away you're going, do you know what? I like this. It's good. He's sort of made the effort to come straight here rather than chilling out and going home and packing or whatever. So it's good.
Yeah, and you realise in my mind I've got him, standing there with one of those Del Boy type cocktails with the umbrella sticking out and all that sort of stuff.
Could embellish the story, say he had had a Panama hat on and all sorts, couldn't I? But I don't remember the flip flops and the shorts, to be fair.
Yeah, but it is a bit of an eye opener that you were signing for Sunderland and you'd never met the manager up to that point. It sounds like a strange thing from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, it was again for me as a young player, it was just the opportunity more than anything. So the opportunity to play for a club like Sunderland. Yes, Peter Reid was fantastic in terms of coming to meet me and things and saying the right things, but again, I don't think it would have mattered who it was if Sunderland were coming in to sign you at that age and the amount of games that I played. It's a no-brainer. So it's a fantastic football club.
Yeah. Well, that was July 1998, and you signed just after that playoff final defeat to Charlton on penalties. So I mean, when you walked through the door, you got to the training ground for the first time, met the other lads. I mean, was it still a bit doom and gloom after that playoff final, or was everyone by that point you could see they were kind of right? They're focused on the new season.
Well, I was in a bit early, so because I'd torn my hamstring in the last season, they said come in a little bit early. A few injured lads are in. I think it was Sam Aston and Martin Smith were in, and Kevin Ball. So Kevin Ball, I think he just had an operation on his jaw. So first time I met Ball, he had these massive things on his teeth. Gave me the most ridiculously hard handshake in the world. I'm thinking this is like a Bond villain here. Who's this? So there's only 3 or 4 of us on the training ground at the old Charlie Early. So it was an early little, it wasn't a full on meet the whole squad type thing. But no, when everyone came in, just focused and positive. There was didn't seem to be any hangover. I certainly didn't seem to notice one. I remember watching the playoff final and kind of having a good idea that's where my future would lie, and not sure what I wanted in terms of the end result. If it stayed in the Championship, would I get a better chance? You go to the Premier League squad player. So so it was but as the game went on, obviously when it happens and you're watching it, you're gutted when obviously the penalties, when Mickey misses a penalty and stuff. So, but no, the squad were great. The squad were positive, ready to go, and it certainly proved that way in that season. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and you've already mentioned meeting Bawley, but I said when you walked, when everyone else started to come through the doors for pre-season training that summer. I mean, you've mentioned Bawley. We had some characters in there as well. Alex Ray, Niall Quinn, and you could go through that squad. I mean, how was that stepping up from that Wrexham dressing room and then looking around you thinking, heck, there's some some characters in here.
Reflecting on it, I think I didn't deal with it very well. I think I almost saw these players coming in and thought, oh my God, should I be here? I think I had a little bit of, I was in a bit of awe, I think, as a young lad. I think, as I say, I was 20 going on 21. What was I? Yeah, just turned 21. So it was kind of but I was kind of a young 20-year-old as well. So moving away from home and that part of it I found quite okay. But then moving into a squad where I wasn't socially a loud player or anything like that. So going into a squad like that was a little bit daunting for me. And I think, reflecting back on that probably first season, I probably didn't back myself as much and give myself enough confidence to know, I'm good enough to be here. So it was difficult. But listen, it wasn't any fault. The lads were fantastic. I mean, as you say, the characters there were superb. Quinny, absolutely lovely fella. Bawley made you feel right at home, but in the right way. Make sure you're doing the right things. The Manchester squadron, Paul Butler had just signed, Mickey Gray, Chris Makin, Nicky Summerby. And the lads are sort of I gravitate towards, the likes of your Chris Weaver, the goalkeeper at the time, Darren Williams, Jody Craddock, David Duke. So it was we all had our own little groups that you get on people better than others, and they sort of made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But within the whole squad dressing room, I think, I could have been a little bit more confident in myself. But what a squad it was. Alan Johnson was a great guy. I got on really well with Alan. And Bridgie and people like that. So there's loads of great lads within there.
Yeah, and you mentioned, because I mentioned the characters, you've talked about some of the young players, but actually when you look back at that squad, there seemed to be a really good mix of those really experienced players who, big characters, been there and done it, and the likes of yourself coming through. Jody Craddock, we mentioned, he joined that summer. We had a few, and I think actually Peter Reid tried to kind of lower the age of the squad as well, bringing in quite a few younger players. So it seemed to have that nice blend of those kind of more experienced players and that younger part of the squad as well.
Yeah, I think that's key to any dressing room, really. I think if you've got a team full of older players, then you need a bit of youth and enthusiasm. But if you've got a team full of young players, you need that experience. So that blend was really good. Again, that you can afford to bring a young goalkeeper in like Thomas Sorensen, when obviously you've got older, more experienced players within the team to help him out. And obviously he was a fantastic success. But I think, Thomas, when he came in, was really young, particularly for a goalkeeper. So there was... It was a really good blend. Even the signing, so obviously signed me, signed Thomas, and then obviously the other end of the spectrum, Paul Butler was a little bit older. So again, there was it really did work. And again, I think any of that squad now, particularly lads who played week in, week out, would say how good the squad, sort of not just depth and quality, but how good the camaraderie was. And again, I think he had players for every position, but almost like for like. So he had sort of Quinny and Kev. Reserves were Bridgie and Danny Dicio. So you're almost like for like. And the midfield players, Kevin Ball, Lee Clark, Alex Ray, just all good footballers. And then the younger boys coming through, Thirlwell and Lumsden, and the boys coming through underneath that as well. So it was a really, really, again, looking back, fantastic squad.
Yeah. And Peter Reid clearly rated you because, going into that season, we played Queen's Park Rangers on the opening day. Then you made your debut at York City, I think it was, in the League Cup, which was straight after that first game of the season. But only 3 league games into the season. You were on the bench against John Aldridge's Tranmere Rovers at the Stadium of Light, and you replaced Alan Johnson. I think there was 5-10 minutes remaining. I think it was 4-5-0 at the time when you came on. But in front of 35,000, making your debut kind of there at the Stadium of Light, that must have been some experience so early in that season.
It was. And again, I think both occasions, again, harking back to sort of my age and stuff, I was surprisingly, considering it was York and I'd played against teams sort of at that level and better already in my career, I was incredibly nervous. So a few early touches were a bit dodgy, but I wasn't too bad in the end. But then the Tranmere one, I was just amazed by the sound of the stadium. Never played in front of a stadium that full with so many people. I remember cutting inside not long after I'd come on, and I'd done the defender on the inside, cutting from the left. I'd gone to have a shot, and I shanked it just wide. So I pulled a little bit, caught it okay, but pulled it and dragged it wide. And as you say, it was 4-5-0 at the time. I just think, if I'd just let a bit more composure, I killed it far corner, I might have been all right. And it might have been a dream league debut, but it was fantastic. It was just after that sort of healed me off a little bit, sort of. But I think was it November or December? So I think it was back end of November. So I was flying in the reserves. I think I scored a hat-trick against Preston in the reserves, and then the week after we played Manchester United at the stadium, and I did my hamstring, and. Again, it's the second time I've done my hamstring, and it was one of those where you're like, because obviously I was quick, so it was a big thing for me, and it was really tough to come back from. Every time I came back, I think I tore it another 3 times during that season. So an injury keeps you out for sort of 5 weeks, or 3, 4, 5 weeks. Ended up keeping me out on and off for probably about 3, 4, 5 months, and I never really got to play much for the rest of the season. So that was, I always pinpoint that as sort of my downfall or my opportunity that was quite escaped me, really. And then obviously went into the Premier League next season, signed a few players in my position. It got really, really difficult for me. But a few what ifs in there for me. But life is life, I guess.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, obviously you kind of hit those injuries and things, but I mean, at the beginning of that season, when you were on the bench, you came on against Tranmere, everything's going great, you're flying and all this sort of stuff. But I mean, what were your expectations? I know things kind of didn't go quite as to plan, but what were your expectations of that first season? Did you think, yeah, I'm going to get the opportunity, and if I impress, I'm kind of in, or were you thinking, I'm only going to get the odd opportunity, I might go out on loan, So what was your expectations?
I think when I spoke to Peter when I first met him, his first line was, "Listen, if you're doing well enough, you'll play." He said, "It doesn't matter how old you are." So my aim was always to just perform, again, just on a base level, just try and perform as well as I could, and then if I get that opportunity, I get that opportunity. So I guess in terms of aims, the first aim was to obviously make an appearance. So the early one against York was great. Playing against Tranmere was good as well. But then that leaves you wanting more. What can I do next? How can I get in? But then I was realistic enough to know that, listen, you've got Alan Johnson on one wing and Nicky Sunburn on the other, and they're both flying. So how can I sort of make little bit parts into that team and just kind of just make an impression more than anything, and then see where it goes. And then obviously the longer the time goes on, in my head I'm going, right now, can I overtake them? But I know it's not going to be sort of within a short period of time. But I believed in myself. Externally, possibly less so than when going on the pitch, I guess. So as I'm getting older, sort of into my early 20s, mid 20s, got a lot more confident within myself, and I think that would have been nicer to have when I was 20, I think.
I mean, you mentioned you're struggling with injuries and the opportunities in that side in that season. I mean, we went on to get 105 points and we were blown sides away. But I mean, from your point of view, I mean, how was that being in the background and that, and just having the experience of seeing that? Because it was only your second full season, really, as a kind of a first team footballer. Because you only had one season at Wrexham, really, when you burst through. So I mean, that must have been amazing to see that, even though you weren't as involved as you might have wanted to be.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I always remember the open top bus tour. It was unbelievable. I've never seen so many people in my life. It was it just, again, I knew how big the football club was, but even on that day, you're going, this is another level. But no, throughout the season, I think there was landmark moments throughout the season where everyone's just a buzz of what's going on. You felt you really got a good chance. Even after the first 5 or 6 games, you're thinking, we've got a real good chance of going on and doing really, really well here. And you look around at the squad and you're thinking, yeah, you got a chance. You got good solid back four, good goalkeeper. Again, a lot of people didn't know what Thomas was like before he came in, but I think it was obvious early on he was going to do really well. Midfield, experience, quality, grit, determination, quality in the wide areas, and then an absolute abundance of goals up front. So all the ingredients. And then, as I said before, underneath the reserves, you saw you had every person in every position covered for. I think you had me and Sam Aston wide. I think, as I said, Danny Dicio and Michael Bridges, who went on to do ever so well and go for quite a bit of money as well. So there was players all over the place. It was excellent. It was fantastic. And I think, when was it? I think it was towards the end of the season. Was it Ipswich we clinched it away from home? It was a big game anyway. I think John Mullins scored, I think, didn't he? Away at Ipswich. That was one of the big games. And I think that was sort of a landmark moment where we went, yes, we're going to be a Premier League.
About right. That season kind of all blurs into one, because we were just turning up thinking how many we'd win by, to be honest, which is... In the life of a Sunderland fan, that's I don't think I'll ever forget that type of season.
Again, as a player, it was fantastic. I bet it was amazing as a fan. Again, when we're at games and Super Kevin Phillips is ringing out the stadium all the time, it's fantastic. And then to take that to the next level in the Premier League and do so on the Premier League, it was an amazing time. Really, it really was.
Well, that's it. You mentioned going up to the Premier League, and you mentioned Stefan Schwarz as well, because he was one of a few players that Peter Reid bought to take us on to the next level. Steve Bull came in as well. I mean, what a player he was. But was that another eye-opener in terms of that next level of player that you were seeing on a day-to-day basis as well?
Absolutely. I think we were on our pre-season tour in Denmark, and talk at breakfast was a rumour Stefan Schwarz is signing. I was, no chance. We're not signing Stefan Schwarz. It's Fiorentina. They're going to sign for us for. sure enough, 2 days later, he comes and joins us in Denmark. And what a nice fella, by the way. Absolutely fantastic person, by the way, Stefan Schwartz. I still keep in touch with him. He's on my Facebook, so he's absolutely fantastic guy. So ultra professional, fit. Had a horrendous injury when he was with us. I think he was on international duty, tore his Achilles. But what a footballer, what a person. And again, as you say, some of these players coming in, unbelievable. You know you've arrived in the Premier League when some of these players are coming in. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, people forget about Thomas Helmer as well, because he didn't play much for for Sunderland. But I mean, what a background he had as a player, and we brought him in on a free.
Yeah, and again, Thomas was. What I found really interesting about Thomas was similar to Steph. I was expecting, again, you have stereotypes, don't you? Expecting this unbelievable German footballer to be really arrogant and really having himself, but no, what a lovely fella. Again, he had his own opinions about certain things, and he wasn't scared to say them. But he was a really nice guy, really down to earth. And again, yeah, we didn't have as much of a chance as I thought he would have done, to be honest.
No. And then he, I think he retired, then played in the Champions League after he left us. So it was a strange one, but
yeah.
But, I mean,
where did he go? Did he go 1860 Munich? I think it was 1860.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. No, good player.
Played in the Champions League later that season, but I mean that season you ended up going out on loan to Darlington, which was huge for you further down the line. But were you thinking in that Premier League season, seeing these players come through, we've taken that step up, and you weren't able to play as much football the season before that, you'd need to go out and try and get some football somewhere?
In my head, I was always still trying to go, do you know what? Because this has been my mantra all my life. It's just, work hard, try and perform, and if it gets you somewhere, it gets you somewhere. So in my head, I was just going to do that. But then the loan came kind of out of the blue. I think they had a game against Peter Reid on Sky on the Sunday, and I think I was told about it on the Friday. So I think Bobby Saxton had a chat with me, sort of like, do we get some games? Fancy going out on loan? So I just went, well, yeah, why not? I said, so it was kind of initially to go, see how it goes, as you say, get some minutes. And yeah, it was really successful. I really enjoyed that period as well. It was a really enjoyable one for me.
Yeah. And then the following year, you had a similar move to Halifax, and then you left Sunderland to join Darlington permanently. I think it was in the summer of 2001. I mean, was that a tough one to take, or was it I can't tell whether it was a tough one or a no-brainer, because you've just said part of you thought, I want to try and make a go of this, and I want to kind of work hard and force my way in, but at the same time, there's that move there for you, and you can play first team football. So was that a tough decision?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. I think because it was the sort of start of my fourth season at Sunderland, so it was kind of like, yeah, I think the ship sailed now, and I think what happened was, I think Carlisle wanted to take me on loan, and at that stage I had a chat with Reedy. I was sort of saying, I don't think a loan's for me now. I think I need to go permanently. And again, at that stage, it was almost like once I'd said the words, I'd almost wanted to get out then and there. So it was tough. But the only thing I probably would have said is at the time, if I'd done it again, I might have waited a little bit longer rather than going to Darlington, maybe drop down the division a little bit slower, maybe Championship and then All League One. But the lure of Darlington was the fact that I enjoyed it so much. And got a really good feel. I was enjoying the football. The fans were fantastic with me, and the football club. So, yeah, in hindsight, it might have been possibly better for a longer career at a higher level. But again, I don't believe in regrets. So, I enjoyed my time with Darlington. It was fantastic, and I had a superb 7 years there. So it was, it was tough, but it was time. It was time, definitely.
Yeah. Was Peter Reid one of these where he knew the minds of footballers, so when he realised that you'd made the decision in your own head, it wasn't a case of him saying, well, why don't you, stick it out or anything like that? He knew you'd made your mind up.
Well, actually, he got the ump a little bit, because I think because he'd got this Carlisle thing sorted on loan. He said he was basically top and bottom he was in a bit of a mood because Don Hutchison, I think, had just put a transfer request in. So Wayne over here got the brunt of it, I think. And he sort of said, you're going to Carlisle. So I kind of had a little bit of not a falling out, but a few words with him over that. And then I think a day later, the Darlington thing just happened. So it was, it kind of put it all to bed. But yeah, it was not one to get on the wrong side when he's not in a happy mood, is really.
Well, to be fair to him, I think he wasn't the only one with a hump when Don Hutchison handed a transfer request in, because I think all Sunderland fans were devastated. He was fantastic in that year. He was in the Premier League.
I think everyone was surprised as well, to be honest, when that happened. So yeah, it was yeah. I don't blame him, to be honest. Yeah, I don't blame him.
I know I had the hump with Don Hutchison as well, but yeah, you did go to Darlington, and at the time they were under the ownership of George Reynolds when you signed in your first few years. I remember, I think it might have been the year after you joined, or maybe a couple of years after. There was the whole saga about Faustino Asprilla at the time, and he was kind of paraded at the new stadium and all this sort of stuff. I think maybe Paul Gascoigne was linked at the time, and this kind of escalated and went into the club went into administration a few years after you joined. I mean, was that period of time as crazy for the players on the inside as it sounds as I go through it?
It was just bizarre. I mean, George, again, say what I want about George now because he's not with us, God bless him, but he was a funny old character. I mean, he was great. He was great with me, to be fair. He liked me, so I was happy there. He's all right. But yeah, it was never a dull moment. He turned up at the training ground at Durham once, and he had a bit of a dispute with a few of the players. Clint Marcel, I think, was one of them at the time, and he banned him from training. The gaff was like, you're all right. You can carry on training. But then George turned up and was kind of like, drove his Range Rover right onto the side of the pitch and was like, what are you doing training? Get him off the training pitch. And there was also, when I signed, he rang the local paper and said, guess who I've got with me here? Yeah, I've got Neil Wainwright here. I've signed him for Sunderland. I told you I'd get him, didn't I? You didn't believe me. I told you I'd get him. And the reporter on the other end's going, oh, yeah, it's a really good sign. He just put the phone down. It's just bizarre. I did one contract negotiation with him. And so I sat in there with Mick Tate, who was a manager at the time. So we're in his office. I'm in one chair. Mick's across to me to the left. George is across to the right. And so sitting down, he's got this big, massive pasty that he's eating. So he starts eating it, but he's talking at the same time. And you know what pastry's like? It is flying everywhere. And it's going all over him. It's going all over his desk. And he's offering me a contract at the same time. And I'm looking at Mick, and Mick's just looking at me, shaking his head as if to go, I don't know what's going on. But it was just never a dull moment. All the time, there was something. But he was certainly eccentric. And at the end of the day, he saved the club initially, but again, probably wasn't great further down the line. But no, it was definitely never a dull moment there.
I mean, what was going on in the dressing room when you had Faustino Asprilla waving to the fans and things like that, and thinking he was going to turn up to Darlington? Yeah,
well, again, it was we'd heard the rumour at training, and then we'd heard the rumours of, obviously, I think he'd been done for shooting a gun off in his homeland, sort of stuff, things like that going on. So we were like, this is going to be lively when he comes. But then we were kind of like, the overriding thought was, yeah, I'm not signing him. But then lo and behold, he was paraded above in front of the fans before one of our league games to never be seen again. So I think that, again, the story goes, he got paraded in front of the fans, saw the ground, then went straight to the airport and flew home. So yeah, it was a lot of fans, I think, have bought all the flags and everything as well, ready for his arrival. But they went straight on eBay, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how much he got paid to do that few minutes of waving. But
yeah, exactly.
I doubt we'll ever know. But I mean, having played for Darlington for all those years, I mean, you must have found it sad, the way it went, and where they essentially kind of ceased to exist in the end and had to start up with a new name.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was. So I eventually signed for Morecambe, and then the end of my Morecambe career, I was at least about 32, 33, I think. So I played non-league for a bit. didn't really enjoy it. To stop, and I was playing a charity game. And I did my knee. I did my medial on my knee. So I was out for about 3 months. So in my head, then that was me finished. That was me done. That was me retiring. Just after I'd come back, Morecambe were great. So the physio helped me out with a bit of rehab and stuff. And it was when Darlington were pretty much going bust. They were down at the bottom 3 of the conference, and they couldn't sign anyone. They could only sign free transfers and under 18s. So Craig Liddell, who I played with as manager, he gave me a call and I said, listen, mate, I've literally just got back from a medial. I said, I'll come up. I'll play in a little practice game if you want. See what you think of me, see what I think, see what I think my body's like, and I'll come and help you out if I can. So there was like 3 months left of the season. So I went up, ended up just filling in for him, just playing games. I think played most of the games, played in at right back and on the wing a little bit for him. Yes, I knew I wasn't at my best and not, but I was literally just going back for the club more than anything and for him. So to try and help them stay up, but it wasn't to be. I think we signed up. We signed Jordan Pickford on loan as well, so he was one of the under 18s we had. But yeah, it was almost a little closure for me as to trying to help them, yes, but also little final farewell to the football club. They do treat me fantastically, to be fair. Love my time there.
Well, like you said you joined Morecambe in 2008, and I just wanted to mention that because it was only their second season in the Football League. I mean, when you joined them, were they still riding the crest of the wave? Because they finished 11th in that first season, which was some achievement. So when you joined them, was it still kind of bouncing because they were new to the Football League?
Yeah, it was. I think Sammy McElroy was manager at the time, and I think he signed quite a few players that summer. I think they just sold Carl Baker, I think, to Coventry. They just sold Carl Baker anyway, for a little bit of money, and signed me and a few other boys. Signed lad Ryan McCann and Damien O'Carroll from Celtic. Barry Roach, the goalkeeper, who's still here now. He's a goalkeeper coach at the football club now. Michael Carr. He signed a lot of bodies, certainly for that level, as to come in and sign a lot of bodies in that summer. So it was almost a fresh new half of the squad. So it was good. It was good to come across. Having been at Darlington for 7 years, I was happy there. It was fantastic, but sometimes a change was interesting. So yeah, it's a great club. It's a lovely family-based club, but one that's now got the ambition to strive and do really, really well as well.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned it again, you went into non-league, and actually I think up top you said about that, the last move, I think it was Lancaster City, that ended up, I think you were kind of joint manager, you ended up. But I mean, was that something that was already in your mind because you were approaching the end of your kind of career as a player, but had you already decided you wanted to go down that route, or was it just, you were just there and the opportunity was there?
No, I always say, people laugh when I say it, I just fell into it, really. The managing stuff, I got a little bit of a knock, so I missed a couple of games because I'd gone into play at Lancaster. Listen, it was nothing. It was just to keep me ticking over. I was getting like 60 quid for it. But then when I found myself on the sidelines, I found myself trying to help the boys out on the pitch. And then the manager was also the owner at the time, and he didn't really want to be doing it. And he said, listen, you're doing a great job. Obviously, you got the knowledge. Fancy doing it for a bit. So me and another guy, Michael Stringfellow, did it for a little bit. But again, for the amount we had to do in terms of on the phone and training and games, travelling to games for 60 quid, even as a manager, was a little bit too much. So, yeah, I like a little escape into management for a little bit, but no, it's not really for me. But the coaching side I like. And yeah, as I said before, it's been good to me now, and I'm still at Morecambe as head of coaching the academy, which is a good role for me.
Yeah, but I mean that role at Lancaster and that having that experience, did that make your mind up to exactly what direction you wanted to go in?
Yeah, I don't think I would be a manager. I filled in when Steve Robinson went early on in the season. Me and Barry Roach took the team. Baz was asked by the chairman to take the team, and Baz asked if I'd give him a hand, and I really enjoyed that match day experience. But for me, as a week in, week out, I don't think the pressure's for me. Just purely for the fact that I know what I'm like when I lose the game. So I put enough pressure on myself anyway to then have that pressure of external factors of everyone else so desperate to to win football matches, and then what's at stake at the end of it is really difficult. So progressing players and developing the younger players within football's definitely more the side for me, I think.
But on that note, I just want to say thank you very much, Neil, for taking the time out for us. I really enjoyed the chance to catch up.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been great.
But brilliant. Thanks again, Neil. Cheers. And thanks again for listening, everyone. And keep an eye on all the usual places for the next podcast that I imagine will be dropping very soon. But from us, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.